You're not going to believe the secret I stumbled upon to fix pepper flower drop. It's so simple, so natural yet incredibly effective, and it completely changed my gardening game. Forget everything you thought you knew about getting more peppers, because this one ancient technique is a total game changer that costs practically nothing and uses something you probably throw away every day. Picture this. You've carefully started your pepper seedlings, transplanted them with love, watched them grow strong and healthy, and then those gorgeous little white flowers appear. Your heart soars with anticipation of the coming harvest. But then, day after day, you walk out to your garden only to find those precious flowers scattered on the ground like confetti after a disappointing party. The plant looks healthy, the leaves are green and vibrant, but those flowers just keep dropping, taking your pepper dreams with them. I know this frustration intimately because I lived it for 3 seasons straight. My pepper plants would grow magnificently, flower beautifully, and then nothing. Well, almost nothing. I'd get maybe a handful of peppers from plants that should have been producing dozens. The common advice I found everywhere talked about heat stress, inconsistent watering, or over-fertilizing with nitrogen, and while these factors certainly play a role, they weren't addressing the real issue that was sabotaging my harvest. After countless hours of observation and experimentation, I discovered that most pepper flower drop isn't caused by what everyone thinks it is. Sure, extreme temperatures and watering issues contribute, but there's a much more fundamental problem that's probably happening in your garden right now. Calcium deficiency at the cellular level, specifically affecting flower development and fruit set. Here's what I learned from watching my grandmother, who grew up during the Depression and never bought a single garden amendment in her life, yet consistently harvested more peppers than anyone I knew. She understood something that modern gardening has forgotten in our rush toward complicated solutions. Plants need readily available calcium during their most critical reproductive phase, and nature provides this in the most elegant way possible. Calcium isn't just important for preventing blossom end rot in tomatoes, it's absolutely essential for proper pollen tube formation and successful fertilization in pepper flowers. When peppers don't have access to easily absorbable calcium during flowering, the flowers literally can't complete the fertilization process, and the plant drops them to conserve energy. The frustrating part is that your soil might contain plenty of calcium, but if it's not in a form the plant can quickly access during the critical 24 to 48 hour window, when flowers are receptive, you'll still experience massive flower drop. Here's my game-changing discovery that transformed my pepper harvests. Eggshell tea. Yes, those eggshells you probably toss in the trash every morning contain the exact form of calcium your pepper plants are desperately craving. But here's the crucial part that makes all the difference. It's not about crushing eggshells and adding them to soil like everyone suggests. That method takes months or even years for the calcium to become available. My method makes this calcium immediately bioavailable to your plants. The secret lies in creating a calcium-rich liquid that peppers can absorb through their leaves and roots within hours, not months. When I first tried this method after learning it from an elderly Korean gardener at my local farmer's market, I was skeptical, but the results were so dramatic that I thought I was looking at different plants. Flowers that would have normally dropped within 24 hours were still attached a week later, swelling into tiny pepper fruits. The reason this works so spectacularly is that we're providing calcium in its most easily absorbed form right when the plant needs it most. Pepper flowers require a surge of calcium during the critical pollination and early fruit development phase. Without adequate calcium at exactly the right moment, the cellular processes that allow successful fertilization simply can't occur, regardless of how healthy your plant looks otherwise. Making eggshell tea is incredibly simple, but the technique matters. Save your eggshells throughout the week. You'll need shells from about 6 to 8 eggs per gallon of finished tea. Don't wash the shells initially. The membrane contains additional beneficial compounds. Place the shells in your oven at 200 degrees Fahrenheit for about 15 minutes to kill any potential bacteria and make them brittle for easier breakdown. Once your shells have cooled, go ahead and crush them into small pieces. Not powder, but, pieces about the size of rice grains. Place these pieces in a large jar or container, and then cover them with boiling water. The hot water is really important here because it starts extracting the calcium right away. Let this mixture steep for about 24 hours, giving it a stir every now and then. You'll notice the water turning a bit cloudy as calcium leaches from the shells. After those 24 hours are up, strain the liquid through a fine mesh or even a coffee filter. This calcium-rich tea is ready to use immediately, or you can store it in your refrigerator for up to 1 week. The concentration is just right as it is, no need to dilute. For the best results, apply this solution both as a foliar spray and as a soil drench around the root zone. Apply your eggshell tea either early in the morning or in the evening when it's a bit cooler out. Spray the entire plant, making sure to focus on the flowering areas, and really soak the soil around each plant. The great thing about this method is that you honestly can't overdo it. Any extra calcium your plants don't use right away will just stay in the soil for future use. While calcium availability is often the missing piece in pepper flower retention, creating optimal growing conditions ensures your plants can make the most of this natural boost. Consistent moisture is absolutely critical because calcium moves through plants dissolved in water. I maintain steady soil hydration through deep, less frequent watering combined with a thick organic mulch that retains moisture and slowly releases nutrients. Temperature management becomes much more effective when your plants have adequate nutrition. Well-nourished pepper plants with proper calcium levels can tolerate temperature swings that would devastate deficient plants. During heat waves, I create afternoon shade using taller companion plants like sunflowers or cosmos, which also attract beneficial pollinators that help ensure successful flower fertilization. The magic really happens when you combine this calcium boost with other natural fertility practices. I brew compost tea weekly and alternate applications with my eggshell tea. The combination of readily available calcium with diverse organic nutrients creates an environment where pepper plants can express their full genetic potential. Hand pollination using a small artist's brush becomes almost unnecessary because the flowers are naturally more receptive and successful at setting fruit. The results speak for themselves, and honestly, they happen faster than you might expect. Within just 2 weeks of starting regular eggshell tea applications, you'll notice flowers staying on the plant longer and beginning to swell into tiny fruits. Plants that used to produce maybe 5 or 6 peppers per season now routinely yield 30, 40, or even 50 peppers. The improvement is so dramatic that, well, neighbors often ask what variety I'm growing, assuming I've discovered some super productive cultivar. The quality improvement matches the quantity increase. Peppers develop more uniformly with better shape and thicker walls. The plants keep flowering and setting fruit much later into the season because they're no longer constantly stressed by failed pollination attempts. It's almost like watching your pepper plants unlock their true potential, using nothing but kitchen scraps and water. What makes this method even more satisfying is knowing you're solving the problem using resources that would otherwise go to waste. Every dozen eggs you use for cooking provides enough calcium to treat several pepper plants for an entire week. This isn't just effective gardening, it's sustainable, economical, and honestly, connects us back to the wisdom our grandparents understood intuitively. The most beautiful aspect of this solution is its simplicity and accessibility. You don't need to buy anything, learn complex formulations, or worry about application rates. Nature provides exactly what your plants need in exactly the right proportions. Once you experience the abundance that comes from working with natural processes instead of against them, you'll wonder why anyone complicates pepper growing with expensive amendments and synthetic solutions. Start saving your eggshells today and prepare to be amazed by what your pepper plants can achieve when given what they naturally need. This method works because it addresses a real nutritional requirement using ingredients that have nourished plants for millennia. If this natural approach has opened your eyes to simpler, more effective gardening methods, make sure to subscribe to Smart Garden for more time-tested wisdom that actually works. Share this video with fellow gardeners who are struggling with flower drop. They'll thank you when they're harvesting baskets of peppers using nothing but kitchen scraps. Together, we're rediscovering that the best gardening solutions are often the most natural ones.